Well, ladies and gentlemen, it's Bout 15 for Season 3 of SmackView, and once again, we're live. And joining me in the panel, once again, the man of sound logic and lateral thought. The man who calls out BS, even if it's a sandwich that hasn't got enough tomatoes and fried mushrooms in his sandwich, the Co 92.
Hello, good people and all.
The J-Seeker, no longer the noob.
I'm an established IWC man now. Does this mean I get to have my official card with my quote on it?
We'll talk. Not trying to sound smart, dude. It's just a case of we'll talk. And okay, whoever's doing that, can you put your headset on? Put your mic on speaker on headset, because that's gonna get annoying. I'm guessing that's you, Brad. Okay. To the point there. The man simply known as the Prez. Prez, that's where we're talking about you.
Do we just tell him to mute his mic?
Never mind.
I think he's getting his headset on.
Yeah. Okay. Before we get to this week's review of SmackDown, let's address the elephant in the room in regards to Sonny's rant. Now, I'm going to quote what it says from divadirt.com. Divadirt for all your women's wrestling needs. Earlier this month, we learned that WWE Hall of Famer Sunny was arrested on DUI charges, but new information indicates that she's got even more trouble ahead of her. Why have I not seen this before? The Times News is reporting that Sunny, real name Tamara Sitch, is facing 2 additional DUI charges for separate incidents in Carbon County, Pennsylvania. These took place on June 1st on a vehicle code violation and June 20th following a crash. Both times she was found to be driving under the influence. In the second incident, she was also driving without a license. On top of all that, Sunny failed to show up for a court appearance yesterday to answer charges stemming from the initial May 30th incident. All charges, including general impairment, driving under the influence, driving while operating privilege is suspended or revoked, and is careless driving, have been forwarded for trial in a Carbon County court where her arraignment has been scheduled for September 3rd. Before that, she has a hearing scheduled for August 19th connected to the June 20th incident. Charges are still pending on the June 1st incident. It is said that a bench warrant may be issued for arrest. Sunny also sparked controversy earlier this month when she made derogatory comments towards Becky Lynch, Charlotte, and Sasha Banks following their main roster debuts. Calling Becky and Sasha butterfaces. Oh dear, I see where this is going already.
Why?
And expressing her doubt that Charlotte had any in-ring talent. She's the daughter of the Nature Boy. So that. She also confessed that she's never been a fan of women's wrestling, claiming that she should leave it to the men. In other news, L-Man has come forward and say, "Oh, hello, Tumblr would like a word with you." Now, this is where I get a little bit salty.
Let it all out, man. Let it all out.
Let me see if I got this straight. They'll let Sunny into the Hall of Fame, even though she's got a problem separating hand from whiskey bottle and did some amateur porn on Skype. Kept Hogan in the Hall of Fame before the recent incident in the news. After he did his sex tape, and yet China who did porn for money as well, just to pay the bills, is kept out from the Hall of Fame. Triple H, how can you have kept Hogan and Sonny in the Hall of Fame for their mess-ups and not induct China to the Hall of Fame? You can't keep them in for one thing and keep Joni out for the same thing. This is what we call a double standard. As for Sonny making those toxic comments she made towards the current women's wrestlers, what the fuck would she know about what makes a good women's wrestler? Last time I checked...
When was the last time she wrestled?
Exactly.
Nice.
Seriously, Prez, please put the headset in. That's starting to grate a little bit. Last time I checked, you didn't exactly have a polished in-ring record. You didn't win the women's title. You're only remembered for being eye candy. Unless you're on the recently retired Layla, Lita, or Trish's level for in-ring skill, you have no grounds to complain on the current women's product. As for saying that wrestling shouldn't be left to the men, as Ellen would say, I think Tumblr would like a word with you. Now do us all a favor. Sober up and shut the fuck up. Co92, would you like to add something to that?
I don't know what is up with Sunny these days, but for her to make those comments towards the current women's wrestlers when she wasn't even a wrestler to begin with, she was more of a ballet / manager back in the 90s. It's so contradicting and hypocritical for her to say that, and for her to get arrested for DUI again. It's just so messed up, to be honest. And not to mention, it shows a bad reputation for her at this point.
Yeah, pretty much. J-Seeker.
Well, I think that pretty much she pretty much speaks for herself at this point. I mean, it's really hard to add anything to what she's already said. I mean, she's already made her bed. Let's hope she has the decency and dignity to acceptingly lie in it. But knowing her, she'll probably invite a couple guys in with her.
Yeah, especially what she's been doing to get herself some money these days.
Yeah.
Yeah, let's not dive into that.
Prez. Huh.
Is he still with us?
I have no idea.
He is with us right now, but it's just on mute.
Yeah, I don't get it. Alright, we'll get his opinion as and where we can. Co92, just put your headset on a second. I think it might be coming from you.
Alright, hang on. That'll take a while.
Yeah, sorry about this, folks. Technical difficulties.
Alright, so.
Ooh. Oh, that's a lot better.
Oh, something I missed?
No. Okay, I think last week I kind of covered saying how Taker and Lesnar, the way that they're building this up for SummerSlam, the writing is kind of lazy and poor. And let's also go ahead and address the fact that SummerSlam is now going to be 4 hours long this year. Now, SummerSlam has always been the second biggest pay-per-view of the year. If WrestleMania is the gateway from spring to summer, then SummerSlam is just the way to, like how you always, in like one school or college semester or term, as we call it over here, you always have like that one major big blowout party or a way just to cap everything off to say like, right, we celebrated it the right way. SummerSlam is the way that you cap off the summer completely. I don't know if making it 4 hours is the right way to go. WrestleMania has earned the right to be at 4 hours, even though, and to be fair, I think we can all grant this year's WrestleMania has probably been the best one in years, especially with the way they presented that.
Definitely a top 5 WrestleMania.
But, again, I come back to the fact that SummerSlam is a 4-hour event, whereas in recent years, I will grant last year's SummerSlam and 2013 were decent. 2012, aside from Ziggler, Jericho, the rest of that card was throwaway, and I think Nick Nugent kind of said it best in regards to Triple H Lesnar. Was that the perfect storm or a silent fart? Because the main event didn't break much wind for him.
It's once again Lesnar not caring.
Well, Lesnar has always stated first and foremost he hates the traveling, he's not too keen on people, and he's only doing this for the money. Now, professionally, I will never take anything away from Brock Lesnar as an athlete. In terms of the kind of performer he is, it's like he has, the strength of Hercules, but he's got the graceful speed of the Flash or even Sonic the Hedgehog. Yet, it's his attitude that stinks. And having Lesnar and Taker as the main event of a first 4-hour SummerSlam event, considering how WrestleMania pack in so many promos, segments, and commercials each year, are we likely to see something of a similar shape and form for this year's SummerSlam? And I'm going to start with Jay Seeger because I'd like to hear your take on this.
Well, we all know how WWE likes to book things. Like they pick certain events and like to give the proper foreshadowing to them and base their schedule around that. Like WrestleMania will always lead to, let's say, SummerSlam. SummerSlam will always lead into Survivor Series. Survivor Series will always be where the seeds of WrestleMania are planted, etc., etc.
Yeah.
And it seems that WWE wants SummerSlam to be less of a transitional event and more of an actual thing to look forward to. But if this is the first time that model is going to be used, they better bring it, because anything short of a good night will just be unacceptable for a 4-hour show.
This is something I talked about very candidly, not just with the / pipe bomb / open thoughts about SummerSlam going 4 hours. You need to take this all the way back to the post-show for SummerSlam 2012, 3 years ago, with Raw going to 3 hours that summer. I posed the question, if Raw goes to 3 hours, what does that say for the pay-per-views? I mean, WrestleMania's already at 4 hours. But now, what does it say for the regular pay-per-views? Because if Raw's at that level where it's the same length as a pay-per-view, but the only difference is with including commercials, do regular pay-per-views go to 4 hours and then eventually WrestleMania goes to 5 hours?
Oh, a 5-hour WrestleMania? I wouldn't see that happening. No way.
I mean, we kind of have that set up at the moment where the pre-show now for WrestleMania is 2 hours, the event itself is 4 hours, and then the post-show is an hour long. So by the end of it, you've done 7 hours of WrestleMania for the day. But imagine a 5-hour WrestleMania event. That's like, going from start to finish. That's 8 hours. Nobody has the attention span to stay on something that long. I mean, can you imagine how many promos and segments Triple H would have?
Oh, goodness, he'd have enough to write his own Shakespeare play.
Well, to be or not to be, that is the title I want. And then you hear, excuse me, Hunter. What is it, Stephanie? You've already had too many title shots. You can never have enough title shots. Wait, there's nobody in the audience. Ooh. And this is also the other problem. They're not utilizing the talent properly once again. YouTuber Denzel S27 said something to the effect of, the biggest problem that creative have at the moment is they have more than enough talented members on that roster to do something monumental and be like something that could eclipse the Attitude Era. But the problem is, I think as time has gone on, even though the athletes' performance, health, and fitness has improved, the writing has gone the other way. I mean, if you look at some of the way that things were written 98, 99, they were simple stuff, but they were effective and they make sense. Whereas now, how should I put this? If the Attitude Era was seasons 7 through 12 of The Simpsons, current WWE is current Simpsons. Make of that what you will. I think
we have to remember is that wrestling has always been a game of haves and have-nots.
Yeah.
You can go back to like any year of any company, and there'll always be wrestlers who are just chosen not to be utilized the best way they possibly can. This is nothing new.
One prime example, although he had not 1 but 2 title shots against Seth Rollins, listen to that arena every time Dean Ambrose comes out. That place goes crazy for him.
Yeah.
I haven't seen an audience go have that much of a reaction for one wrestler, with the exception of Daniel Bryan, because he still gets a huge pop whenever he does come back.
Yeah, that guitar rev of his is the equivalent of Austin's glass shattering.
Exactly. I've not seen anything like that since Stone Cold. It's just insane. Co92, I don't think we got your thoughts on SummerSlam going 4 hours long. What's your take on it? And also, my bad for not getting to you sooner.
It's okay. Well, my thoughts on this 4-hour SummerSlam event this year. I'm kind of indifferent towards it since so on the one hand, it is one of the main big 4 pay-per-views of WWE, so it would make sense to make it 4 hours. But at the same time, I'm not sure if it will work out right. It depends on if they have the right card of matches to make it an enjoyable 4-hour event. I kind of see this as kind of like an experiment to see if for WWE, if this could actually work for like a long period of time, or if it doesn't, well, they can always go back to 3 hours. So I don't know what to make of it exactly, but it's a matter of will it succeed?
You are right in a lot of respects, because the only way you can learn if something works is if you just go ahead and do it, because you can do all the will it, won't it, but on paper, but until you actually do it in practice, it's not going to matter. And that is one thing I have noticed in the last year or so. They're not playing the safe and predictable route anymore. They're actually starting to take chances in certain areas. They are actually not doing rinse and repeat. They're actually thinking, we've done this before and it doesn't work. Let's do this and see what we get. So I think Code 92 is pretty much on the money, but for me, I'm still a little bit unsure, because if you look back through the 2000s, say, and up until 2011, SummerSlam has been very hit and miss. There have been, say, like 2 to 3 years straight where it's been okay, some years, ugh, and there's other years where you think, that was worth my money. One example during that decade is SummerSlam 2002. Don't know what it was about that event, aside from matches like Kurt Angle, Rey Mysterio, RVD, and that guy's name we shan't mention. But the one that stole the show that year was Shawn Michaels versus Triple H. 4 years, my eye. Came back with a fully loaded tank in that event.
And of course, maybe we ever forget the main event, Rock versus Brock.
See, this is one of those other situations where it looks good on paper, but the payoff is not as good as it should have been. Now, to be fair, Rock was, quote, wounded going into that match anyway, and we were all pretty much presuming he was going back to Hollywood afterwards, which is why he didn't show up at Madison Square Garden the next night. In all honesty, as much as I think, it did Lesnar the world of good by going over in that match, I think he became champion too soon. Because you get some performers where you want it so badly, you want them to win so badly, but sometimes there's a reason why it's got to take a little while to get them to that point, because then they're ready. Few examples I can give on that. One of the biggest, Steve Austin. Granted, he could have gotten there a little bit sooner, but the fact that his character, the way it was pretty much primed and ready to lead the company as its champion. He had the maturity and the tenacity to go in and do it as champion. As much as I respect the athletic capability that Seth Rollins has, I think they made him champion way too soon. I think he could have done with at least another year, because, again, there are some that when you make them champion, it works. And I mean, Cena's a prime example. Yeah, they took a chance on him in 05, but the guy has always done it with class and maturity in and outside of the ring, until proven otherwise. And again, you just get some that are given the belt and they weren't ready for it. I mean, you could argue the same thing with Shawn Michaels at WrestleMania 12, because he didn't fully appreciate and enjoy it, and word to my understanding was he wasn't 100% there at the time, but we'll leave that alone, because that's old news. And at this point in time, you know that they're sort of looking to put the belt on Cena again, the way that he's trying to meddle his way into the main event by calling Seth Rollins out. Now, I think that's WWE trying to be safe and predictable once again, because, again, I think, as I've just pointed out, Rollins, he hasn't been that overly impressive to watch in the ring. And let's not kid ourselves. Battleground's main event was a one-man wrecking show with Brock Lesnar. At least with Cena, he put up a fight against Lesnar. Rollins, it's like putting...
We kind of came into that that match expecting that Seth Rollins would be a human punching bag.
Yep. And
Pretty much.
I mean, Rollins against Lesnar, it's like putting up a toothpick against a hammer. It's like, which one do you think's a win? I think the hammer here has probably got a lot more volume to work with. Yeah, I don't know. And like I say, Cena coming back into the main event picture.
He isn't gonna win. He isn't gonna win.
I can see why they're doing it, because the fact that it wasn't really ever resolved between Cena and Rollins, but at the same time, you know, say what we will about Cena as the character, but as a performer, he knows how to get a reaction and a result. I mean, look what he did with Owens in those 3 back-to-back pay-per-view matches. You know,
that program with Kevin Owens was legendary.
I mean, I don't know what it is. Ever since he's been United States champion since WrestleMania, it's almost like he's got his second wind, or he's found something to actually propel himself towards. And I will agree, since he's been US champion, he's made that title relevant once again, because there are people who sort of look at thinking, oh, Seth Rollins has got the WWE title. Okay. Oh, Cena's US champ. I want that belt. I want that belt.
Yeah.
And I will give credit where credit's due. We know say. Right. My apologies for procrastinating long enough. We'll get to this week's SmackDown, and apologies to those who have been waiting for it for this long. And we begin this week with I Have Something to Say. Cartman Rollins begins the show with a jerking session about how badass he is, because as he is busting Cena's nose and that nobody hits harder than him. I think Roman Reigns would like a word with you with that. On a side note, go on.
Yeah. And I was about to say on a side note myself, but did you see the pictures of
I
Cena after
did.
that match? His nose swelled up so much, almost as big as Triple H's.
No, that's not possible. No, that's
I said almost. I said almost.
Yeah, but I gotta say, looking at those photos of his broken nose, I'm like, ouch, man.
It's like, mine is bigger, and Cena's just like, too easy.
All right, let's go back to Seth.
Yeah. And as I just mentioned before, and on a side note, kudos to Cena to be able to continue to compete and retain his US title. Cesaro comes out and an impromptu match begins. Hashtag Cesaro versus Rollins. Considering how they tore the house down last week, this was likely to be just as awesome. Kevin Owens, who seems to have a grudge with just about anyone these days, was ringside commentary. Personally, I'd prefer he be seen and not heard, but that's me for you. Just as Cesaro was about to Cesaro swing the undisputed champion, Owens saw fit to interfere, ending the opener DQ. Stay classy. Up to our next bout, Los Matadores and the Lucha Dragons versus the New Days, Kofi Kingston and Big E, and the Ascension. It's that obscure part of the WWE that's with stables that creative just don't know how to use properly. Lucha Dragons being talented, but creative won't push. Los Matadores being overdue a title shot. New Day that is universally despised, and the Ascension who likes no one, but they hate legends. Despite confusion on the direction of the respective stables, this was a decent 8-man tag match with Kalisto and Los Matadores shining the brightest. Bring back the Cruiserweight title, WWE. You know you want to. Kalisto gets the pin. One thing I want to highlight, and I want your opinions on this. Do you feel like with some of these tag teams, they're not using them the way they should be using them.
Mm, kind of, recently. I think the biggest tag team that they're not being used properly is the Ascension. But then again, Mr. McMahon is not too keen on them.
Yeah, it's just always a thing. People tell Vince McMahon straight up what the problem is and what he needs to do to fix it. Yet he still just puts his fingers la 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 la. I know best. La 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 la. And we're like,
he rather listen to his butt buddy Kevin Dunn all the time.
you know, the less we talk about Kevin Dunn, the better. I mean,
No.
Yeah, he's an old target by this point.
Yeah, no.
Yeah. Anyways.
But yeah, I think we can all agree that they're not using these stables properly. I mean, with the New Day, they try to do something relatively fresh with them, but to be fair, this gimmick's been used before, and it's either been semi-successful or just not very much. And in today's, climate with WWE, it just doesn't work full stop. It's just like there are those when they're being heels, people love to hate them or hate to love them, whichever way you choose to look at it, and it works. And you just get some people that just get the X-Pac heat, which no one ever wants to get, and they just don't get over. And I don't really feel like with the material and the gimmick that these guys have been given, it's just not working. I mean, it's as we've said so many times before, Kofi Kingston, probably one of the most athletically gifted and charismatic wrestlers that they've got, yet they won't use him properly. I just don't get it. And Los Matadores, they go out of their way to repackage Primo and Epico. Yeah.
Oh.
They go out of their way to repackage Primo and Epico as Los Matadores. They have a decent program with then 3MB, who seem to enjoy having a losing streak against that stable for a time. And then they don't do anything with them. Same thing with the Ascension. I mean, they came in as this, we're the angsty heel group, and nothing's done with them.
I think I know what WWE's problem is. They can only focus on 1 to 2 tag team programs at a time. Anything more than that, and they just short circuit.
Yeah.
Kind of makes sense.
I don't get it either. But then again, if things made sense, WWE would actually be ahead of the curve instead of being 10 years behind. Yeah. Anyway. A video package for Becky Lynch is presented, showing her journey from a rookie to where she is on Team Paige, which I prefer to call the Book of Paige. As A-Log once said, enough of this team BS. A-Log, have I got your impersonation wrong? My bad. Oh, goody. We haven't seen this before. Rusev versus Jack Swagger.
It's like they're intentionally trying to piss us off.
What do you mean trying to intentionally piss us off? I think they've been trying to do this for some time, dude.
Of course.
I see we're doing Ryu scenario 927. These two have fought before, and it wasn't that riveting the first time. First few times, it was for Pride, and then the United States Championship, of which Rusev defeated Sheamus for after Raw went off the air last fall. Excuse me. Excuse me, sorry.
Oh, great, he's starting to gag on how bad the show is.
Oh, if only.
No, it's the Swagger Rusev, man. What do you expect?
WWE is actually making him sick.
I know.
Well, I think WWE were right to demote Swagger from his push after his extracurricular activities in 2013, that has been and gone, and to continue to make him a punching bag now is just asinine, when you consider that this man could be a competent world champion again. Rusev defeats Swagger via accolade. The Bulgarian Brute tries to get some unwarranted gloating in, of which Swagger was playing possum and looks the Patriot look in. Karma is coming for you, Rusev. You ever seem to notice with some of these things, and this is sort of something that Jay Seeker has just touched upon, they seem to reuse similar sort of match scenarios at this point every year. I mean, look at Randy Orton and Sheamus again. You know, some 5 years ago, they were brewing up a rivalry for SummerSlam 2010, of which Sheamus was WWE champion at that time, and they're brewing up again. Do you think that... I don't have a problem if they not faced each other for, say, 3 or 4 years at a different point in the year, but do you seem to notice that every, you know, set period of time from, say, 4 to 5 years, they have them facing each other again, but different scenarios? Do you think they sort of time this way?
I don't think WWE has the capacity to plan that far ahead in advance.
Yeah, since they don't do any long-term plans these days. I don't see the reason.
Okay. On to the next contest. Stardust versus R-Truth. 4 years ago, R-Truth was in the main event picture, having just had his first WWE title shot against Cena, of which was when the little Jimmy shtick started. Like, I got okey doked by little Jimmy!
Yeah, R-Truth as a heel was nuts.
That was just an intriguing year at best, but...
Yeah, 2011 was a weird year. It had its big highs, but then it had its big lows.
Yeah.
Yeah. And what is Truth doing now? Playing jobber for just about anyone. This man is a former tag team and United States champion. And sad thing is, he never got into this match with Stardust. Never rushes to the ring as Stardust went on a gloating tirade, including quoting Arrow, you have failed this city, and Stephen Amell responded on his Facebook page by saying, so, I'm just paraphrasing it, so, you decided to steal one of my catchphrases. Point me in the nearest direction of the WWE universe. I'm paying a visit.
Holy crap, I'm actually doing this program.
I smell buildup.
Yep.
We're actually doing this program. Holy crap.
That, I would say this should be interesting to watch.
Shut up, Wade.
But regardless, this ought to be like, I think they're planning on this having me like a fun comedic segment during SummerSlam. They definitely have the time to do that kind of stuff.
True.
Yeah.
I mean, like that one tie-in segment they were going to do 3 years ago at SummerSlam with Daniel Bryan and Charlie Sheen.
Oh yeah, I did remember that. You know, even Dan Bryan even mentioned it in his new autobiography book. It was originally gonna happen, but I guess some plans fell through, and Charlie Sheen at the time of his problems, you know.
The only one who was winning was Daniel Bryan at that stage, but that's another story.
I think that was kind of the best for him, because Dan Bryan, as we know, went on to bigger and better things.
Yeah, I mean, Bryan came out of the whole situation from 2012 as being not only a competent tag team champion with Kane, but it then opened the door for him to get into the hunt for the WWE Championship the following summer. So more than enough kudos to him. I mean, he actually proved himself when he shouldn't have had to, but they say, can you jump this? He said, yes, I can. And we get another talking segment. This time, Sheamus. And he cites that he'll take Randy Orton down because he sees him as a threat because the Legend Killer said he'll be waiting in the wings for him when he cashes in his briefcase to become the undisputed champion. A humble man is not Sheamus.
You know what? I really don't buy Sheamus being a WWE champion.
I don't think... Well, best to my understanding, and this is only from what I've been told from people who claim to know this and kind of saw the look on Sheamus's face at the end of TLC 2009. When Cena went through the table, it kind of looked like he wasn't supposed to go through the table because Sheamus is like,
Yay! Yay! I totally meant to do that.
It's like, I wasn't supposed to win that, but like, stuff it, you're WWE champion at this point, you're more over than... And that's always been the thing. If you're a heel, go up against Cena, you'll get cheered. End of. We seem to be experiencing some technical difficulties at the other end.
Sorry, I'm talking with my dad.
Oh, I see.
Complaining about not putting socks tiny little socks in the washer.
Oh, I see. Okay. And we come to our main event. Dean Ambrose and Cesaro versus Seth Rollins and Kevin Owens. Dean Ambrose was revealed to be Cesaro's partner, and the fans went nuts, and Seth went nuts. But for different reasons. The fans because Ambrose is a modern-day Stone Cold with his tenacity. Seth because he knows that Ambrose lives rent-free in his head. Cesaro was acting like a boss this week, putting Cartman Rollins in the swing and the sharpshooter. And before that, he was putting Kevin Owens in the crossface. And everybody that saw that thought, okay, awkward, pulling on the collar there.
If you get that.
Yeah.
Those who don't get it, meow.
Exactly. Owens tried to go for the win after super kicking Ambrose, but didn't see Cesaro shove him into the ropes and hit the roll-up for the win, and the audience went insane. If you ever doubted that Cesaro had turned face, there was your proof. I really
don't know if Cesaro is able to get some space into like the main event picture. I mean, I don't think he's gonna get the U.S. title from Cena. I don't think he's gonna have a run for the WWE Championship.
Not yet.
Ryback's not been cleared for return yet, best to my knowledge.
And they might not have him doing anything with the IC belt, so I'm starting to fear that his heat will just die out if they don't do anything with it.
Those who are smart businessmen or smart writers, they see something that's working, and then they think, ooh, adapt that. Let's work in that direction because that makes sense. I mean, I know I keep coming back to Stone Cold as an example, but he's a tried and tested example. He got over with the people, and they thought, right, let's get material and directions done for him because he's getting the reaction that's bringing the audience in. They see something that's getting a reaction that's not John Cena. It's like, okay, we'll take his material, put it on Cena, and people are like, no. It's like, they always, I'll give them credit for one thing. They like to see through their program of what they're trying to do, but they don't ever stop to think, this isn't working. Let's actually retool this and edit the scenario a little bit just so that we get that reaction that we're looking for. We actually get, the payoff that we're looking for. I'm Vince McMahon. You'll do as I say. Uh-huh. That is Vince's problem. Now when people say he's out of touch, a lot of people say it's not because of his age. Because look at Stan Lee. Guy's, in his early 90s, and he's more in touch with the youth of comic books and gamers of today than people half his age. Because he knows what works. Vince McMahon, who's 70 years old, more or less by this time next month, and to be fair, he looks great for his age. Not going to take that away from him. But the guy doesn't know what works. Not anymore. Some near 20 years ago, yeah, he did, but now, and not so much.
If you ever rely on the stockholders and executives that he hires.
I can't believe I'm going to quote Nostalgia Critic with this.
Oh, I know you're going to go for it.
But when you start ignoring the audience that you're trying to cater to and just look at the flow charts and stock reports on what the shareholders say, then you're catering to the wrong audience. You should be actually catering and listening to those that are trying to buy into your product. I mean, the way that they should be doing, listen to the reaction that wrestlers get whenever their music goes off or whenever they do a certain move. It's like, oh, but Cena sells the most merchandise. Like, yeah, but you don't give much of the other guys, an avenue for their stuff to be put over. I mean, CM Punk said something. Oh dear. Yeah, we've lost the prez due to technical issues. Sorry about that, folks. CM Punk has evidently done just as many Make-A-Wish as Cena has, but they just don't publicize it. And that's the problem. They need to actually listen to the fans. The shareholders should only be the people that want to invest in the product, that they actually like what they're seeing. If you're only doing things just to keep the shareholders happy and not the audience that's actually giving you the money, well, there's the problem. You're not, as the critic said, you're not listening to the audience. You gotta listen to them and not some flowchart.
Well, the church says. I can't say that one. Well, that cracks me up every time.
I got what I needed from this week, regardless of the situations that led to these encounters, is irrelevant. It's why I keep putting the message out that SmackDown is the better brand in WWE, from my perspective at least, because there's less talking, especially less talking than Raw, and more focus on competition, i.e. wrestling. And this week was proof of this. SmackDown gets an A. If the build-up to SummerSlam is going to be like this each week, fun times are to be had. And particularly whenever we get up to these major pay-per-views. With the B-class events, with things like Extreme Rules, Over the Limit, Night of Champions is kind of building itself up to be one of these bigger events because of the theme of the fact, most championships, or all championships, are defended in one night. When you get to a Royal Rumble or a WrestleMania, you notice the quality in the matches start picking up again. You notice the entertainment value is the reason why you sign up for the network or why you watch Raw and SmackDown on cable and satellite TV. Like I say, I'm only going by what I've seen with SmackDown, because most people know I haven't watched Raw in 2 years, and it's going to stay that way until I see proof that they've improved. Last 2 weeks has been decent. This week, the matches that, from what I saw this week, it's almost on pay-per-view level. And when you're able to do something like that for something that you get for free, instead of buying it on pay-per-view or if you have it on the network, then you're doing something right. And of course, there's also that rumor that pay-per-views are actually now going to be $4.99 outside of the network, which I'm going to give the cable companies this. If that rumor is legit, welcome to the 21st century. Welcome to a world where not everybody wants to pay $60 for a wrestling event. Again, if that rumor is indeed true, because these are hard times enough anyway. I'm gonna go start with the Co-92. From what you've seen from Raw, has the quality started picking up again, particularly in regards to the build-up to this year's SummerSlam?
Kind of. I might. I do see they are trying to build up for some good matches, especially with the build up towards John Cena and Seth Rollins for either both WWE title and the US title, well depending if Cena can recover from a broken nose. And of course the same can be said with the whole build up with the Divas Revolution currently going on at the time. So they're starting. They are starting to get a little bit better. Not by much, but you can tell they're focusing more on some of the other new talents that are being called up right now.
All right. Jay Seeker, would you like to add anything to that?
To be honest, I think Raw is getting a little better, but I don't think it's at the standard of quality that the viewers are dying for it to stay at.
I agree.
I think WWE has a little more room to grow before they're finally at an acceptable level. But based on previous history, I doubt they'll reach it within this year.
You bring up 2011 for being one of those years where there were kind of a few weird things happening, but there were a lot of good things.
Yeah, there are a lot of good things and a lot of bad things.
Yeah.
For every Money in the Bank 2011, you had a WrestleMania 27.
Yeah.
Well, keep in mind, a certain Mr. Rikaku is going to dispute that from dawn till dusk. Like, no, WrestleMania was awesome because I was there.
We really need him on the show one day.
If he's ever available.
Careful what you ask for, because that's when everyone's like, okay, I'm going to turn the volume down now because Oni's here.
I will say this. That year in 2011, I would say the first half is kind of a little bit missed, but when the later half of 2011 with the whole and CM Punk did his whole pipe bomb and all, that's when it really got interesting.
But you forget that was the year when we were first introduced to John Laurinaitis.
Oh yeah.
The less we say about that guy, the better.
Exactly. So you can't say that there was any part of 2011 that was completely free of suck.
Yeah. Well, I do give Laurinaitis credit. At least he did good production work on the Beast from the East special.
I was not aware of that.
Yeah, he produced it and all. And he did a better job than that other producer.
Yes.
I'll be happy if he stays backstage, alright?
See,
Yeah.
The thing that I particularly enjoyed about 2011, aside from CM Punk's awesomeness and that moment, because he brought in so much mainstream media attention with that, but you look at the quality of other programs and matches. Now, while I have my issues with the way that they did the whole Christian heel turn that year, each match with Randy Orton was gold. And then you go into the rest of the year, I do question what Randy Orton was doing, having to sink down to Cody Rhodes' level at the time. Now, not to take anything away from Cody, because he's an amazing athlete, but it's just the fact that Orton had dropped down from the main event to that point. I mean, for Cody, win-win situation. Orton, not so much. The thing that I found was not really weird, but it was neither a good or bad moment. It's the way they set up so far Mark Henry's only his second world heavyweight title reign. And I don't know what it is about Mark Henry as a heel. There are heels that, when they get over as a heel, you're always going to have some people that cheer them, because some of the things that they'll come out with, you think, okay, yeah, I like where he's going with this. I mean, Ric Flair, he's always going to get cheered, whether he's heel or not. Triple H, to a point, is always going to get cheered and respected, but it's the writing and the execution of how they set up Mark Henry's heel title run for that year. I think they could have done a lot more to actually make him stand out, because to me, Henry just came across as just being a very generic bully, particularly in the way after he got the world title, he asked JR to apologize and then accuses him of kissing up. It's like, well, in the writing, you just think you could have just had saying, that's more like it, that's better. But again, they haven't set up as a bully, and I just think they could have done so much more with Henry, because he's been a heel throughout most of his career. And the way that, again, with creative, it just makes him look as though they don't want to try anything new with him. And then, of course, what else happened? Oh, yeah, the ring imploding again, which Big Show was totally against, because it's like, no. That was only like a special thing for Brock Lesnar. We don't want to do it a second time. But as Jim Cornette rightly once said, if it's been more than 7 years, you can use it again.
Yeah.
And as much as we have our reservations of the way that Rock just sort of came back in and out, the match at Survivor Series 2011 was awesome. But yeah,
It was a proper teaser for what they'll eventually do at WrestleMania.
I think he did better at Survivor Series than he did at Mania, because I don't know what it was about Mania 28. Because to be honest with you, I think the best match on the card that night was CM Punk versus Chris Jericho, but that's another story.
The Cena Rock match did what it was meant to do.
Yeah.
It gave Rock a win in his home state. Everyone got to boo and laugh at John Cena, and then boo and laugh at John Cena again when The Rock came and gave him an F5 the very next night.
I think some people knew that Brock was going to be there that night, but
Everyone was hoping for it, but they were still happy when their dreams came true.
True. And that was at a time when Raw was still 2 hours, which I would like it to go back to, because, I'm not going to go on a repeat tangent, but 3 hours doesn't work for Raw.
No, the 3-hour experiment has failed.
Yeah.
I mean, when you have like a 3-hour special, like say for the Slammies, or every time Raw does another 100 episodes, you think, okay, that's valid, that's acceptable, because it's something special. Paul Heyman said something to the effect of, when he was a guest on the Stone Cold podcast on the network, I don't agree with how he phrased that. Having Brock Lesnar on the show is like, it's like Christmas Day come along. It's something so grand and so special. But if you have Brock Lesnar there every week, it's like having Christmas every day. Kind of half and half on that. But if you
Yeah, I
then
can see his argument. I can see his argument, but in practice, it's not really working.
but then take what he says and then apply it to 3 Hour Raw, then it makes total sense. Because again, the 3 hour thing, before it became a weekly staple, it was something special, something you looked forward to seeing whenever you knew it was coming up. Now you know it's every week. It's lost its novelty. It's like with the whole concept of the fans being able to vote on certain things. Now, when Vince McMahon brought that in for Taboo Tuesday, which I think they should have stuck with that concept, because a pay-per-view on Tuesday and the fans can vote for match stipulations and opponents, genius concept. But when they started making it a regular thing, I think around what, 08, 09, when people could actually start voting for stuff on Raw, then
I was like,
it's flavor.
Yeah.
I don't know. It just seems to like they find something that works, but then they just run it into the ground, thinking, "Oh, this will work each week." Like, no, it won't. This is why we say, every once in a while, absence makes the heart grow fonder, all that kind of jazz.
Yeah.
Although we don't have too many matches confirmed for SummerSlam, I'm not okay with the idea of Brock and Undertaker being the main event. Maybe 2 to 3 matches away from the main event. Something that gets people really excited around the hour and a half, 2 hour mark. Just something just to really let go. CM Punk versus Brock Lesnar being a prime example. People went crazy for that, but
I don't understand what you mean by the Undertaker and Brock Lesnar aren't big enough to be in the main event. I don't understand that.
I'm not saying that they're not big enough to be in the main event. I'm just looking at it from this perspective. As much as I respect the dead man, let's not kid ourselves. He's not a young buck anymore. He doesn't have the same type of pace and endurance as he once did. Now, what he does each year at WrestleMania, with the exception of WrestleMania 30, because let's face it, his performance was a little bit under par.
Yeah, he never really got up the blocks in that year.
No.
Yeah.
And
that he was due to an injury.
And although, to be fair, I will give him credit against Bray Wyatt this year.
Both of them powered through and give a good match.
Yeah, he actually looked a lot healthier. He didn't look as though, he was carrying his own weight plus someone else. He actually had muscle tone back on him. Because if you look at against Brock, he looked like he lost a lot of muscle. This year, it reminded you of when he first became the Biker Taker. He actually had healthy muscle mass on him once more. Now, I don't know what's happened in the last few years where he just looks skinnier than what he used to be, but now he looks like he's at a point again where it's the Taker that we know and liken the most. But keep in mind, as you get older, it takes longer for you to recover from injury. And Taker is, or even though he's only turned 50 this year, he's now north of that birthday. It's different when it's, say, him versus Ric Flair at WrestleMania 18, because Taker was in his mid-30s by that point, but he's now at a point where he's had his hip replaced twice now. When you get to that point where you're having limbs replaced multiple times, although he loves this business, there's a reason why you have to either tone it down or bow out completely, because I do not want to see a situation where Taker is forced to retire from either a situation that would involve him needing a stick for the rest of his life, or in a situation where he wouldn't be able to walk. Because, again, older you get, it's much more difficult for them to actually recover at the rate they used to. And you have to question Lesnar's ring fitness for each time he goes away, because they seem to have gone into this period where he shows up for a pay-per-view, wins the title, clears off until Royal Rumble, comes back for that, clears off until WrestleMania, and then shows up again 4 months later. Ring rust, you know, is going to be there. Whereas if you've got someone like a John Cena, a Dean Ambrose, they're there every week. Their ring fitness is up there. And Taker is always one of those guys who wants to give back to the business. And I mean this with no disrespect, but I think Taker's main eventing days are done. I mean that in the nicest way possible.
I think that WrestleMania 32 would be the best time for him to put away his boots for good.
I agree.
This is why I say I don't think the main event should be between him and Lesnar. I mean, Taker is going to be a draw, regardless of what position he's going to be on the card, because he's the Undertaker. You know, this is a man that has made people look better than him, and he asks for nothing in return. Well, the occasional title run, but I think most wrestlers would be inclined to agree with him. It's like, hey, that little thing where I helped you out that year, yeah, you gotta give me a title run for that. But Jim Cornette said something to the effect of, when Bite This was a thing back in the day, guys like Steve Austin, Ric Flair, and The Undertaker will never claim to be icons, which in his view means that they're, you know, prime candidates to be just that. Because with Taker, he will claim to have instigated and put a lot of things on the map, yet all he'll ask for a return is a thank you. And that's all he'll ask for. I just don't know. I mean, if he can prove me wrong at SummerSlam and actually put on a grade A match, and that he's got one or two decent main events left in him, then I'll retract my statement. But I'm just looking at it from a logical and objective point of view. He's not a young man anymore. I mean, do we really want to see a situation where Undertaker carries on till the age that Ric Flair retired?
Nah, I don't see him going on for that long, especially with the way he's been performing.
Yeah.
It's kind of one of my main skepticals with going into this match at SummerSlam.
Yeah. But in regards to what you said about WrestleMania 32, I think if he goes to have an absolute, you know, grade A match with Sting, because that's rumored what they want to go with for next year.
I hope so. Cross your fingers.
For me, I'd want Taker to win just to say, you know, he ended his career on a win rather than a loss. But at the same time, I'd like to see Sting win as well, because I don't want to see his only match so far in WWE losing to Triple H at WrestleMania, even though that was an absolute killer match this year. I won't, you know, take anything.
It was very cartoony.
It was, but that's what we wanted from it. We wanted to.
Yeah.
I mean, you know, the fact that you had DX and the NWO show, it's like,
I know.
oh, I'm 17 years late, but here we go.
that was something fans wanted to see for a long time since the Monday Night Wars first started. It was a very treat to see that.
I find it amusing, and we say this in respect to, regards to jokes and whatnot. Notice Nash, Nash had not been involved in that scum for too long, and he's by ringside clutching his quad. I was looking for, dang it, Nash! They'll never learn.
Goes to WrestleMania, performs, and here's quad.
As X24 Rider once said, he gets one push and he gets injured. I don't know. Is there any other news that anyone wants to cover before we call it a day?
Not much I can think about right now.
Jay Seeker?
I'm good for the day.
Well, it's been another long-winded session of SmackView this week. I did, just for those listening, I did try to get the A-Log involved with this, but as ever, the guy was unreachable. We really do want to get you on here, A-Log, before SummerSlam rolls around the corner. I don't know what it is about that guy, but he just adds a lot of necessary atmosphere. As soon as he comes into the room, it's like, I'm reminded why this was fun. And even he himself is somewhat of a cartoon himself, with him being the humanoid cartoon and whatnot. But yeah, he makes it funner.
Hey, Log, if you're hearing this, please come on the show anytime soon, man.
Yeah. Well, that'll do it from this week. Sorry we weren't able to get the press. I'm sorry. From my usual co-host, as far as SmackView is concerned, the sound and logical mind of the lateral thought of the Co-92.
Thank you, and good night, ladies and gentlemen.
And to the man who tells it like it is, the J Seeker.
Adios, amigos.
We're heading to SummerSlam, folks. 4 hours of SummerSlam. Not sure if this is a good thing or not.
Either it's going to be really great or really suck. That's my prediction.
Flip a coin.
Man.
Until then, folks, good night.